Hey, this is Mad Hatter, and today I'm here with a moderation tool pack. And I know for a long time moderation on Bedrock has been a complete nightmare, where you have to choose between giving your moderators 100% privileges or 0% privileges. This pack is here to help you get only the privileges that you need to moderate your realm or to help out with your server, or even on a single player world if you want to do it that way. But it does it in a way that doesn't require entering commands or having access to cheats or having access to creative. So first thing, you're going to need a stick and you're going to need to set the pack up. We'll go through the pack setup at the end and we'll go through the permission setup at the end, but I'll show you what you can do. So the first thing you have to do is enter the menu, and this menu will change depending on what permissions each player has, and you'll be able to set that up. We'll go over that at the end. Let's start out in the inspect menu. These are things that are not very intrusive to the server. They don't leave stuff around. So ticks per second, that'll tell you what it tells you in the menu. Ticks per second. This should be right around 20. It'll bounce around a little bit, but it should always be right around 20. And this is just some in little bit of extra time it takes to calculate ticks. The next one that we have is MSPT. This one is a little bit more accurate, but it also causes lag. So what this does is it injects a lag spike that should take up the entire tick, and then it measures how long it takes to process the next tick. So the lag gets pretty bad for about 1 second when you run this command, and that should just be something that you're aware of when you're running it. I'd always run the ticks per second first to make sure that you're clear and you're getting faster than 20 ticks per second. And then if you want to see how much faster 20 ticks per second you're getting, you can run the MSPT. An MSPT of 50 milliseconds is exactly when lag starts. So you can see how close you are to having lag on your server by injecting lag and then measuring how close you were to. Now for ticks per second, you can monitor ticks per second if you have the permissions to, and that will just print once a second the number of ticks that occurred. What about some other things? What about like looking into stuff and finding problems on your server? This is what the inspect features do. So you can get player locations and it'll tell you where the players are. All of the players online. Let me log in another player. So if I inspect player locations, I get the location and the dimension that each player is in. If I inspect inventories, I get what is in each player's inventory. I don't get quantities. That's unfortunate, but it's just not in the API right now, so I can't get it, but I do get what type of item. The other thing you can do is monitor the player's position, and you can set it up on a per player basis. And now if this player is moving around, you can kind of see that. You can also turn off monitoring of that player's position by selecting none. And you can also monitor the player's inventory. And if I were to pick up a block on that character, you can get, what's in that player's inventory. If you monitor the position of the player and you monitor the location, you can watch for if a player is going to a specific spot and if they do take something that they're not supposed to take, and it'll monitor those at the same rate. So if they were to be at somebody else's base and you see that they pick up items, that would indicate that they're doing something they shouldn't be doing. And you could turn those monitors off when you're done with them. It does put them in chat so you can roll back and look through, but it's only in your chat. It's not in theirs. They can't see that you're doing it. But now that you know that there's something spooky going on, enter spectator or teleport to the player, or you could stealth teleport to the player depending on what your permissions are. So for instance, teleport will allow you just to teleport inside the dimension to wherever you want to go. Teleport to player will give you a drop-down menu. And then you end up at the player, but you are still in survival. So you can die. You can teleport stealth to the player, and that player can't see you. Even if he looks directly at you, they cannot see spectator player, at least it without some packs on. And you can dip through and watch from underground or whatever you want. Now, to get out of spectator mode, you're probably going to want to get someplace safe, and then if you log out and log back in, you'll be back in survival mode. Now this will put you in survival mode, not into the mode that you were previously in. So like if you had creative privileges, it'll put you back in creative. How do you access the menus? Well, you need a stick. And a stick is just one of the easiest items to get in the game, so I use the stick. And you have to use the stick. By that I mean right-clicking or using the use button like you're trying to eat it. And then you'll get this window to pop up. Now, if you are setting this up manually, you will need to give the player who is the administrator and has the ability to set everything up a tag. So you could do /tag and then player name and then add, and you'll have to give them root. I already have roots, that's why I'm getting all of the menus. When you are configuring these menus, it's done through the administration tab. You can do the setup moderators. You select a player, and then these are the things that the player will be able to do. This one is the root tag. You can add or take it away. So if I give, let's say, moderation basics, inspect player, and monitor, and kick to myself, hit submit, my menu changed. I have administrate, but I can only kick. I have inspect, but I can only inspect these items. And I have monitor, but I can only monitor these items. I don't have the TP tag anymore. So I'm going to give myself root again. And if I go to setup moderator and I change it to spectator, and that's it, then you only have the spectator thing. You can't go and look into other people's inventories. So if people have camera accounts, this is something that you can do to give them access to camera accounts without having to do some other funky permissions stuff. So now if I give myself the ability to teleport and use spectator, now I get the ability to teleport to player, teleport, and to stealth teleport to player. But if I only give myself teleport, then I only have access to teleport to player and teleport. I don't have access to spectator. So I know that it doesn't have infinite flexibility with the permissions, but you get a good amount of flexibility. Let's go through and see what each one does on its own, and then we'll talk about how to install the pack. So just basic moderation privileges. You get MSPT and ticks per second, and that's it. Just inspect players. You get location and inventory and mobs, but that's it. Teleport, we already went over. You get teleport and teleport to player. Spectator, you get spectator only. If you add spectator and teleport, you get the ability to teleport to a player. Effects, you get the ability to give yourself invisibility or night vision. That lasts for 1 hour and it has no particle effects, but if you're doing moderation and you're inspector, that's often really helpful, especially the ability to have night vision. Monitor. Monitor is actually something that you can modify the moderation basics and inspect player. If you don't have either of these, it doesn't do anything, so you want to have these two enabled to enable monitor. Kick allows people to kick players off. This is really useful for things like a player died and you don't want their items to despawn, or you're getting close to global mob cap, or you're at global mob cap and you want to kick a specific player who is eating global mob cap, or if a particular player is causing lag, it is a super helpful investigation tool. And kick, you just get a list here, and then you can give them a reason when they come back to their computer. It does not ban them though, it just kicks them off the server, and they can log back in immediately. And finally, so the last one we have to go over is allow list. What the allow list does is it enables you to type in a username and add or remove it. This proxies the allow list command, which works on servers as far as I'm aware. If it works on other things, I am just not aware of how that works. So sorry about that, but this is, you have to have allow list turned on. I think you have to do that in the server settings. So this is super helpful if you have a server and you want people to be able to add or remove people from the allow list, and that removing somebody from the allow list will require you to kick them. So those two permissions probably should go together if you want to allow somebody to remove somebody from allow list. So if you want to set the monitoring rate, it is monitoring rate, and then you type in a number of seconds, and now it will slow down to that rate or speed up to that rate, but it's going to be as close as it can get within 1/20th of a second. That's because that's as fast as I can run the script. So it'll be within a 20th of a second of that, so 0.05 seconds. So how do I install this? And the answer is going to be different depending on what year it is and which version that you're using. So first, if this is 1.20.30, there's a bug where I cannot do all of this in one behavior pack. It actually takes 2 behavior packs. So you're going to have to install a couple of behavior packs to get started. And if this is in 1.20.40, that should be patched by then, and I should have a version that you can install for 1.40 plus. All of those are in the description. You're going to have to go through and pick the ones that you want yourself. So now let's go to a new world, and you can install these like any other behavior pack. You go to behavior packs, and you're going to turn on either one with manual start or auto start. Manual start will do nothing in your world to configure this up, and it means that you will have to use commands at least once to add the tags. The simple triggers one will automatically give you your tags, and it'll give you a stick when you get started. So if I activate that one, it will automatically add the GUI in. The GUI is required and the triggers are required. Without both of these, it cannot work. And then you hit create. And if you're the first player to join, you're going to get a stick in your hand and you're going to have root privileges. These root privileges do not extend if you start a single player world and move it to a server. If in that case, you're going to have to be the first person to log on the server or the realm, or you're going to have to use the manual setup and run a command. If you have ran it on a realm and you do have root privileges, then just don't lose them, because you won't be able to get them back without turning on sheets. So now that you have those on, you can configure the rest of your moderators using that tool. If it's manual start, then you're going to have a way to run the /tag command one time to get the first player set up, and then the rest you can do all with the GUI. Hopefully that all makes sense, and I'm going to put links to everything in the description. Drop down there if you need to download it. Also, if you like this, please drop a like. If you are not subscribed, I am really close to a next subscriber milestone, so please, please, please drop a subscribe. And if this changes the way that you moderate your server, please leave me a comment in the description, because I love to know that my work helps somebody else. Anyway, this is Mad Hatter, and I'm out. Bye!